Welcome to Effortless Conversations with Rob and Tammi. And
Hey.
hi everyone. And we decided that maybe we would discuss emotions.
Oh.
Uh, there's so much to emotions. When I first, living in the world, a lot of times we are, taught that being emotional is not good. And I remember a time when I hated my emotions. I hated the fact that I had emotions because I wanted to be stealth-like and just like the world, just be more logical. And it wasn't until I started to understand what Abraham was teaching about the emotional guidance system that I am so glad that my emotions have been there. I would have been lost forever.
Mm.
So I was thinking, as you put it, Rob, the emotional intelligence
Hmm.
is basically something that I don't think a lot of people really understand, especially when you're versed in the school system in the West. It's more about logic and using your mind and thinking things through. But when you start getting more spiritually adept and you start understanding that your emotions guide you, the difference between emotions, though, that people don't understand is that you can identify with the emotions as the character, and that can really mess you up. So you can
Hmm.
say, I'm an anxious person. Well, you labeled yourself anxious and you see yourself that way. So it creates anxiety, which is not a fun way to live. Or you can understand the teachings of Abraham, where they discuss your emotions guide you from what your inner being, is saying. And Rob, do you want to kind of explain what the inner being is? It aligns with effortless being. Do you want to explain that a little bit?
Yeah, it's funny when you were introducing yourself. I was good because we're talking about emotions. I was going to be like, Tammy, you're so emotional. You're all over the place with your emotion. Were you ever told that as a kid, like as a
That's
teenager?
actually a compliment. Thank you.
Yeah, you're so in touch with your emotions. You wear your thing on your sleeve, your emotions on your sleeve. You're
That's
so
right.
emotional.
At one time, that would have been an insult, but I take it as a compliment now.
There you go. That's beautiful. You take it as a compliment because our emotions are really important because they're signals to us. It's information. And a
Mhm.
lot of times, like you were saying, a lot of people like there's different theories on emotion. Some people push it away, you know. Some people welcome them. Some view it as messengers trying to tell us something. And they're there for a reason, right? We wouldn't have our emotions if they weren't there for a reason. So we want to pay attention to them and welcome them and, get curious about them. Like, what are they telling us? And I love the way what you said, the way Abraham does it is the emotional guidance scale. This is what this is. And
Mhm.
basically, it's a list of your emotions, and it's to be used as guidance because really emotions are information for us. So if we're lower on the emotional scale, maybe we're feeling depressed or helpless or something like that, we can move it up to contentment, right? Or hope. And then as you go up higher, you go into like joy, you know, and peace and those higher emotions. So whenever we're feeling emotions, we want to pay attention to them. Oh, what am I feeling? It's telling me something, where I'm at vibrationally, because we're putting out that vibration, that vibrational signature to the universe, and that's what's getting mirrored back to us. So when we talk about conscious creation, we can use our emotions to consciously create our reality if we're in tune with what we're feeling, right? So if we're
Yeah.
feeling on the lower part of the scale, that's probably not a good time to want to create something. That's maybe a time to take a nap or to meditate or relax or rest back as effortless being. Whereas when we're feeling joyful and excited and euphoria and all that kind of stuff, then that's the time to create. Maybe you want to make a video, you want to write a book, or whatever your thing is. You want to go dancing, you want to do something,
Yeah.
creative. That's the time to do the creativity.
I
So
agree.
yeah, so it's like using that emotional. That's what emotional intelligence is. It's just looking at your emotions and using them, intelligently to consciously create, the reality that you want. So if you're in tune with that and you have that understanding, that knowingness of your emotions and you have that perspective of it, then you can consciously create your reality and those emotions you can use that way.
I remember though, before I met, was introduced to Abraham and started understanding the emotional guidance system, it took a while for me to shift that paradigm in my mind because
Mhm.
I always thought if I had a negative emotion, it meant there was
Yeah.
danger or that person was bad. We're taught that we don't understand that it's our guidance system. So when you identify with the emotion, like, or I'm always insecure. So I call myself an insecure person. I'm a loner, and all the labels that we have that we identify with as a character that keeps us stuck, rather than understanding that our inner being, who we really are, is within us. And Abraham describes the inner being as when we were born, we came in the physical part of us. And then there's the inner being that's in the non-physical that has many lives. That's who we really are. But we come down, into earth, onto earth, and we become this character or this person in order to create in this physical life. So when you understand that the whole of you, the wise part of you, is watching you and living and with you, experiencing with you, but stays in the positive, high vibration place as a guide to keep us. So when we get ourselves feeling better, we can connect with that inner being.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when, we're efficient creators. But if you don't understand that you have an inner being that knows everything that you want and is in alignment with it, and all you need to do is feel the best you can to allow yourself to move in that direction, and your emotions are your guide. So if you have a negative emotion like fear about money, you don't have enough money, so you're in that hit, you feel it in your gut. And in before, I would have thought, oh, that's just because I don't have money. There's not enough money in the world. And I would identify with that and feel really bad. And then I'd go down that spiral and nothing would improve. Mm-hmm. But if you understand your inner being sees you as abundant or effortless being, as you say, we're already abundant, we're already complete, we already have stuff. And if you, no matter what it looks like, whether you have a ton of bills in the mail box that you can't pay, if you understand that and you chill and you trust that your inner being's got it, the universal manager is taking care of it, then you can chill out and allow it in. And to go from identifying with your feelings, feeling like you're a poor person, and sometimes people identify as being poor as spiritual, then money's never going to come to you, and you don't understand why you're not able to pay your bills. So that the emotional guidance system is just such a fantastic thing. But it's so funny, even though I heard it a billion times and I was listening a lot, I was still identified with the character at times, because when you get into that fear-based place, your vibration is lower. So it's kind of like a Rolodex. All those negative thoughts do get activated. Like you said earlier, let's take a nap, let's relax, let's come back to it when we're feeling better. Right. And that's when you're able to hear or align or remember who you are. So you're right. If you stay in the effortless being space, you're fine. But we are human, and we do have things in reality that take our attention, and we get lost sometimes. Yeah. Even the best of us that have done this work forever. That's what I love about what Abraham says, that we are, just because, you get spiritually aligned, it's not like a college degree where you have it forevermore. But I do believe that as we practice, we can stay there more readily, and we don't get knocked out and get lost too long as we keep practicing. So I think that's a really beautiful thing to understand, that, even because a lot of times you'll see spiritual teachers like Esther was sick, and people are like, how could Esther get sick? She's in this high vibration. She's, channeling Abraham, and she's human, and she has her experiences too as a human. And, maybe she was off that week because something happened, so that's why I really feel you and I want to keep it real and let everybody know we don't have it figured out. We're not lecturing. We're not saying this is the way. We're just exploring these ideas to see what we all can take that can benefit us. And people, we're all individually different, and what one resonates with, another one doesn't. So there's so many, ways of going about this.
Yeah, I like to really empower people and let them know that we all have that inner being, or that we are that effortless being. We have that intuition. So we can use that as our guidance system. So my guidance system might be guiding me one way to resonate with something, and yours might be doing another. All I'm doing is just pointing to people and just showing them, hey, you do have this, are you aware that you have this emotional guidance system that's inside you? Your emotions are guiding you, test it out in your own direct experience. Don't believe what I'm saying, but test it out and see if your intuition's, leading you that way. Are you resonating with that? That's all I'm doing is just empowering people to see that they have it and then follow your guidance system. Use your
Mhm.
emotions to guide you on which way you should walk or what you should do.
I was doing this and practicing it for a while, and I was not making improvements, and I was getting super frustrated. And I told you before that I had a
Yeah.
meditation teacher tell me, "Why don't you just drop it?" And I'm like, "No, because I know it works because the things I have tried, I have seen works. I
Hmm.
just know it's me that's, getting lost in the identification, or I've got
Right.
deep grooves from thinking these thoughts so long that it doesn't hit me as when I get, my emotions as it's like if you're used to being negative and complaining a lot, you know, you've got grooves of that, and usually it feels pretty normal. But when you start doing this work and you start meditating and you start being clear that you want to understand your emotions, you want guidance so you can create the things you want, then it starts hitting you a lot harder. And then you go, "Ooh, that doesn't feel good. What was I thinking?" And then you're willing to do the work, and then you become more sensitive. And that's another thing that I felt meditation worked for me, because when I meditated and I got into that effortless place where I can just be and just feel the love and feel the connection, when if I go back into my everyday life and I talk smack about somebody or somebody is, I can feel the hit in my gut because it doesn't match that high vibration. So you get more sensitive to what you're doing, and I love the fact that it's like the hot stove we were talking about the other day.
Hmm.
Putting your hand on the stove, you want your sensors to work, you want to feel negative emotions, so you're going down the wrong road, because all the negative emotion is telling you that your inner being is not agreeing with what you're thinking right now and how you're focused right now. And I think also you get kind of spit out. It's the same thing with the way you talk about, when you're in effortless being, right? If you go into negative states, you get spit out, so to speak. You can always get back in. But
Hmm.
I find it just a fascinating system. And I remember one time being so emotional, and I wanted to fit into the logical world of academia. And I wanted to be in control. And I really bought into all these ideologies. And I remember one time just looking at the mirror, yelling and screaming at myself for being so emotional. And because I wanted to, be stoic and be, logical and be able to, live life like everybody else. But I'm so glad that I did not go that way, because it's fine if that's the way people want to live, but it's way more joyous to feel all your emotions, appreciate it all, and that you can deliberately create with it if you choose. And sometimes if you want to wallow a little bit in the sadness, that's fine. Sometimes knowing this, when you have that bigger part of you and
Hmm.
you're eternal, sometimes it's kind of fun just to, feel a little sad romantically and play in it a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And then I said, "Okay, that's enough. I've done it for an evening. I'm ready to go." You know what I
I,
mean? So
yeah.
I really think it's all very beautifully set up. And then there are other times that, I get so down that I didn't catch it early enough. And sometimes it's not comfortable. Like you said, you take a nap or you try to distract yourself because you just know that you're not getting out right now, you know. I'm sure you've had those experiences. You say you take naps, right?
Yeah, I mean, because when you think about our true nature, what it is, it's effortless being, it's ease, it's lightness, it's joy, it's, relaxation. So whenever I find, that I'm out of alignment with those things, so if I'm feeling, like I'm putting forth a lot of effort or I'm striving or feeling overwhelmed or those type of emotions, then I know, wait a second, I know my true nature is beingness. It's whole, it's complete, it's ease, it's effortless, it's joyful, it's light. I'm kind of out of alignment right now. So, then I say to myself, what is it that, that's underneath that? What is it that knows, that that's out of alignment? What is it that knows that the character Rob is being anxious or the character Rob is angry or he's feeling overwhelmed? Like, what is it that knows it? What it is that knows it is effortless being, right? Is our true nature, which is whole and
Mm-hmm.
complete. And when we look at effortless being, what we truly are, then I say, well, that's not anxious. That's not sad. That's not that one. So then it kind of eases. So for me, that's kind of like what I do is I just check that way. And then when I do that, then the character, Rob, tends to relax. He's like, okay, yeah, I'm, overthinking this, or I'm getting caught up in these emotions. But what I truly am is the pristine, infinite being that's effortless and it's at ease. And then it kind of just infuses into the character. So the character can just, then it kind of relaxes. And then you're back in that ease or that effortlessness.
Doesn't that feel amazing to go from that negative vibration to the higher vibration? It
Yeah.
just feels like such a relief,
Yeah,
right?
that's the word I wanted to use. Yes, that's a perfect word to use.
I love the
Relief.
relief.
Yes.
And that's why when you're down in those lower vibrations, all you reach for is relief. You're not going to be able to go to joy. You can't make quantum leaps. It's very different. You don't need to either. But
Right.
yeah. Do you ever find though that you haven't caught those thoughts early enough that the momentum is built so much that that doesn't work and you have to take a nap? Or are you so practiced at it that it doesn't happen anymore?
Yeah, I love that illustration Abraham gave one time. Somebody gave she was saying like in California where she lived, one time her and Jerry were up on top of the hill. And it's kind of like then when you're going down the hill, it starts building momentum. It's hard just to slam on the brakes. The whole thing would flip over. But it's kind of like as you're going down, the momentum's going. You might as well just let it go and just
Yeah, but if you're at
relax
the
and let
top of
it.
the hill and it's just barely rolling, you can put your hip up against it and it'll stop because you caught it early, but it'll
Yeah.
mow you down, right? If
Yeah, it's
you let
almost
it
like
go too far.
yeah, it comes to a point where it's like you're very sensitive to it now. Like I'm very sensitive, like because I know what. So if you don't know what it's like to feel at ease with yourself, to feel effortless, to feel peaceful, to know what this is, how you're going to compare it. Like what are you going to compare it to? So as soon as like another emotion comes in that's not like this, then you kind of like, well, why am I identifying with it? Like, it's okay for it to be there because it's just everything is consciousness. So if it
Yeah.
wants to appear as that, that's fine too. So it's almost like you have that perspective of it as well. But you're right, you are a little more sensitive to it when what your true nature is effortless, ease, that kind of thing.
So when you first start out, though, it's probably going to be a way bumpier,
Yeah.
because I
Mhm.
remember when I first started out, I was identifying left and right. I was all over the place. And that's why I didn't feel I was good at it, and that's
Yeah.
again me trying to identify, looking at it as a homework assignment rather than understanding, just go for the relief. But when you
Yeah.
are versed in that for so many years and you've been raised that way, it's logical that you would do that. And it's
Sure.
okay. And just be kind to yourself and soothe yourself. And I never gave up because the efforts that I did make that worked, I was like, whoa. And when I say effort, it's funny because effortless being, when you're in that state, there is no effort. But when you get out of alignment, a little effort sometimes is necessary. So that's what's wonderful about being an effortless being, right? Because your
Yeah, it doesn't even feel like
effort,
it.
it just flows and
It
everything is
flow. It
easy.
feels
And
more
that,
like
yeah.
flow than effort. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's fun when you get to the point where you just simply remember and you don't,
Yeah.
but that's again, rolling down the hill a little bit and catching it with your hip. Now, when you're rolling down that, you're not going to stop it with your hip. You're going
With
to get
that
mulled
momentum.
over.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that's why these tools of the different guided systems. So if you're in depression and you're in anger, you're down in the lower places, it's going to take a minute, but all you need to do is reach for relief and the stream will take you in that way. Remember the way Abraham describes downstream and upstream? I love
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
how we're in the boat, we don't need to paddle upstream. We can just let go of the oars and we'll go. That's like the effortless
That's
being.
effortless ease. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Prefer that way.
Yeah, and another thing that I find too is that a lot of people will say I'm an anxious person, and a lot of people get on medication, and sometimes there's shame in that for some people, but I think it's amazing how we have so many ways of dealing with things available to us because sometimes I've had friends that were anxious and they got on medication, they were embarrassed they were on it. And I remember Esther, when Jerry passed away, she was considering
Mhm.
it too because she just couldn't find her alignment for a while
Mhm.
because she was very connected to him. So that's natural, the human part.
Yeah, sure.
And I was explaining to them, about the emotional guidance system. And, but sometimes if you can't get a whiff for relief, maybe the medication is the path of least resistance. So I just feel like it's nice that there's no judgment and that everybody can follow their own intuition and what they feel is best for them. Because this friend actually ended up taking antidepressants and was able to get to the point where she felt better and she
Mm,
didn't need it anymore. And then,
mm,
and then there's other people that I've heard Abraham talk to that says, if you're totally numbed out on it, then you're not going to be able to access your emotional guidance because you're not feeling anything. And
mm.
so I think that sometimes the path of least resistance is not to take it because you're numbed out and you're not able to get yourself creative control over your creations in this lifetime. So I find it very interesting how, like with all the different philosophies of spirituality, there's so much to choose from. And I feel like it's the same way with, the emotions. And I love the way effortless being, the material that you really resonate with and share with others, how that also has its own set of ways of being or allowing, or,
Mhm.
it's just not even an effort. But then there's other aspects like Abraham's work from the creation aspect. And then when we're getting into alignment, when we're not out of alignment, what to do.
Yeah, it's because like we're all of us right now, we're all remaining as the sovereign, infinite being that's whole and complete with this, like you said, this internal emotional guidance system that we have. And so if we can all follow that, so even when it comes to anxiety or decisions on, medication or doctors and things of that nature, it's just a matter of just getting in touch, with our intuition, our internal intuition, our emotional guidance system, and checking that. And that'll kind of guide us if it feels like easy and light and peaceful and it feels like the next logical step, then we follow it. But if it feels like a lot of like effort and contention and anxiety and stress and stuff, maybe it's time just to pause and relax. Maybe that's just not the time to
When
make
you're
that
coming from
decision.
lack.
You don't have to make that decision right here and now. To
Yeah.
make it when you're feeling light and easy, and if that feels like in alignment with your emotions and with your true nature and functioning from effortless being with ease and lightness and joy, then follow that. But if it doesn't feel that way, maybe it's just good just to listen to your intuition, maybe pause and not make that decision right then and there and just see what's going to arise. And our intuition's always there. Our emotional guidance system's always there for us if we just pay attention to it.
Yes, and that goes back to wanting to act from a place of abundance, of feeling good about it, rather than from lack, which we make decisions that
Hmm.
end up not working out the way we'd hope that they will work out.
Yeah.
But even so, if you make a mistake, there are no mistakes according to
Mhm.
Abraham
Nothing
because
serious
you
going
get
on.
it done. So there's no do or die, black or white
Right,
thinking
right.
anymore, which I just really appreciated because the way I was raised, it was black or white. There was no shades of gray in there. But I'm finding that, if you just be light about things work out way better.
Hmm.
So do you remember what Abraham said about bipolar that I found very, very fascinating? I wish.
Everybody's got bipolar.
Yeah, I love that. And when I think about that, people that allow themselves to want are in a high vibration when they're thinking about their dream and they're just flying high. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, they look at what is that doesn't match it. And so they go way down. And
Right,
people
right.
call that bipolar. And I had a professor at the university. He was an amazing man. He was teaching freedom of speech. And
Oh,
this man was so passionate. The first day of college, we went into speech class, freedom of speech class, and he came in his pajamas and he was like shirtless and he was calling everybody names to try to get the point across,
wow. That's
very
great. I love
politically
it.
incorrect. And that he wouldn't get away with that today,
Right, right.
but he did that and everybody got offended. And the message was, hey, now you see, should there be limits to freedom of speech? So he got us to think. And then I remember of course, the university got really upset about that and called him and they said, you need to wear a tie and you need to make sure you don't do that. So he did it again, but with a tie on and no
That's
shirt.
funny. I like this guy.
But the
Sign
thing
up for his
about him,
class.
that the reason I bring him up is he was so passionate about what he did. Everything, he just was on fire. I loved him so much for that because
Oh,
he really got us to think and he was so passionate. But when he was down, he was down. And I remember when I think about bipolar, that the reason why he was that way is because he didn't understand the emotional guidance system. He didn't
mm,
understand, he was identified with the goals of what he wanted and he was flying high when he was in alignment, but when he was down it was equally down. I mean, it was
yeah.
way down. And I
Mm,
remember him suffering from depression and really struggling. And
oh,
that's the reason why when I found the Abraham material, understand the emotional guidance system, and that we're all bipolar, what a wonderful discovery. And back then I didn't know about this either. And I don't know whatever happened. I graduated, but I just love the passion that he had. And I just remember him being up and down, and that I'm that way. And anybody who's passionate about their dreams
oh.
tend to be that way if they don't understand the emotional guidance and who they really are from effortless being, or, their inner being, whatever you want to call it. But, it just, everyone's bipolar. And I thought, because you think about it, it logically makes sense. When
Yeah.
you're focused where you want to go, you're super excited. And when you're looking at what you don't want, you're super down, because
So
what
your
you're passionate
emotions would
about,
go up and
yeah,
down,
you're all
right?
over.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's the thing. And I've noticed that I've seen some people that don't desire, won't allow themselves to want because it hurts so bad. And they're like this in life.
Oh.
It's kind of like the heartbeat. There's no life, it's like
Mm.
that. There's nothing wrong with that. But to me, the joy of living, that's why
The juiciness.
yeah, that's why we're here. So sometimes I'm like, okay, but everybody gets to choose, right?
Yeah,
It makes
that's
life
fine.
like work.
Yep. Whatever their intuition wants to guide them or whatever lights them up, follow your guidance,
Hmm.
your emotions.
Yeah, the emotions are your guide. Jiminy Cricket said that, didn't
Yeah.
he? Conscience, I think
Yeah.
something like that. But
When I
anyway,
think about our true nature, the emotions that I resonate with most, that's like in alignment with our true nature, is like joy,
yes,
bliss,
yes.
excitement, passion,
Didn't you say that it's
euphoria.
also, you said that it's between neutral and,
Yeah, I try to stay between like, if I have conscious control, any conscious, manifesting I can do or conscious creation I can do. I don't try not to go below neutrality. I kind of look at everything from that's arising in this space of beingness effortlessly and equally. And so you keep it in neutrality, look at everything in through neutral. Whereas
mhm.
neutrality, not giving it, good, bad, getting the labels, because the mind will come in and label it. So if you can just rest and just see everything as whole, as part of awareness, in disguise. If you see it that way, then you can
And
kind of stay in
also,
neutrality.
when when you're in a high vibration, sometimes it's just peace. It's not always off the walls enthusiasm, right? So
Right.
it fluctuates.
Yeah. So I
And
try to do that range. It's almost like it's like a sliding scale. Like I think of it like your emotions like the sliding scale from like euphoria, joy, excitement, down to like bliss, peacefulness, lightness, ease, contentment, neutrality. But it's like a sliding scale that you kind of just you
yeah,
fluctuate.
you know what I find is there are some people that they just can go from A to Z really quickly,
Oh,
and then there are other people it takes them time. I
yeah.
find the diversity very intriguing.
Fascinating, right? Yeah.
I'm one of those people, I can be really ticked off and then I can be joyful sometimes. And I'm
Yeah.
like, how is that I just kind of could jump like that? You know, it's interesting how some of us are wired a little bit different than others, in that
It
way.
makes us unique, right?
It does. And I think that some people, that's the reason why comparisons aren't a good idea, because we're all unique and our experiences are unique.
Yeah, that's
And
what the mind likes to do. It likes to compare things
exactly.
and stuff like that. It's just coming from the mind.
Yeah. So with the emotional guidance system, Do you now ever get identified with things at times, or are you pretty much, because you've practiced so much,
Well, it's not so
able
much
to catch it?
practicing. It's just kind of it just becomes more
Allowing
natural.
it, just
Yeah,
being
allowing
it.
it, I would say. But no, I get sad, depressed. I feel those emotions, just that they don't stick like to a person or something. Like it used to stick to a Rob, and so it'd be very personal. Now it's more like impersonal. Like it's like I kind of just see it. Oh, this emotion is arising in this space of beingness that I am. So I'm kind of it's kind of like an identity. Like I'm identifying with the beingness. So it takes it doesn't really stick. Like it'll come up and I'll see it and I'll get curious about it. Like, wow, look at that. Look at that sadness that's here and just kind of be with it and kind of look at it and,
Yeah.
and say, what is it trying to tell me? Like, what's going on? And I kind of just get curious about it. And then as I get curious about it, it kind of just unravels and then it dissipates. And then the next thing comes in, the next
Yeah.
emotion.
It's funny because when you brought up the being part, that it's not an effort to be there, and you're not really doing it, you're just
Right.
being. And
Yeah.
I think it's funny because sometimes I think with the deliberate creating, it can
Hmm.
feel like you are trying to effort, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
That's where it gets a little tricky. But when you're in the effortless being and you're who you really are and you're doing it, it doesn't feel like effort. It
Doesn't
just
feel
get
like it.
out of
Yeah.
alignment
Yeah.
that it can feel that way if you want to get back in alignment. But it is our natural state. So even if we didn't do anything, if we catch ourselves when we're in a good state, we can really, really enjoy it, which will keep us there longer.
Yeah. Why not enjoy it? Because everything's happening and why not, go higher on the scale and
And I
enjoy
feel
it?
like our language also kind of it makes it hard to explain these concepts at
Yeah,
times
because it's
because
all
it is
words,
very
and they
action
take on different
oriented.
meanings.
Yeah, yeah,
Words are kind of empty and sometimes,
yeah.
language is very limited.
I know that's why that word ineffable always comes in handy.
That's why I like even on these calls, like if you like people can read the silence between the words, sometimes that transmission or that energy can transmit that way rather than even more than the words that we're saying, but people can pick up on the energy or the vibration, that's coming through, because that comes through even stronger than what the words are saying. So there's more going on here than just the words.
Isn't that what Abraham says during the cruises or the workshops? When they to say that there's a lot of vibrational shifting going on, even though we're
Hmm.
a lot of words, and they say we use way too many words, we just too
Yes.
much, But it's basically a vibrational shift, and I do feel the energy there,
The
and you can.
vibrational universe. I mean, Abraham said that thousands of times.
Mhm,
Totally
mhm.
resonate with that because it really is. It's a frequency game that we're playing.
And we're
With
more electronic than we are these flesh, bone,
yeah,
bloody beings. And I'm like, okay, I'm still kind of wow, when you think about that, because they were talking to somebody who was a techie and they were like really, really resonating. And I'm like, that's really interesting. I am not a techie.
me neither. Us
They-
trying to adjust our lights and stuff.
I know. I mean, I still don't feel like I got this light thing down.
I got this
We're having
microphone.
fun
How
with
am I
it.
hooking it up? Like,
I think that's the reason why we have different people for different things,
yes,
People who are a tech,
Dele
like
delegate the
Abraham,
things
or
you're not good at. Yeah,
yeah, Esther has her. Mark, is it?
yeah.
Yeah, he
Mark, he's a
takes
cool
care
guy.
of all her tech
Yeah,
stuff. So, that's what's so cool about co-creation is that we don't
yeah,
have to be good at everything. If
yep.
we do what we enjoy, we draw on the people that complement us and we can all play
They'll
together,
resonate. Yeah, they'll
Yeah.
resonate and want to be around us. Speaking of that, like I'm looking forward to the cruise, and hopefully you'll be on it too. And I'd love to
Mhm.
invite people to join us on the cruise. That'd be kind of cool. Have people
Yeah,
there. They
yeah,
can even sit on our if we decide to do a live broadcast from there, on Effortless
yeah. And
Conversations.
that's
Have them join
in,
us. Yeah.
do you have the dates on that? It's in March, right?
It's in March. I don't have them handy, but sometimes it's on my website though. If people go to my
Yeah.
www.effortlessbeing.net, you can go on there or email me and I can give you information on that. But I'd love to see people come and join us.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of fun because they can meet us. I do live miracles there. They could even join the Effortless Conversations, if that comes about,
Mhm.
which I'm hoping. So
Yeah. And that's the thing is we can play with it. We can do coaching or we can just
yeah,
do a live stream and people
sure.
can come and
Whatever people want, just contact us and reach out,
yeah, yeah.
We're available.
Yeah, and I feel like too, having somebody to talk to about some of these concepts,
Yeah.
like you said, it's more mirroring. It's just,
Hearing, yeah.
yeah, just
Holding
being
space
out
around it.
there and
Yeah.
talking to people, and
Yeah.
also the fact that our experiences, especially if you're not around a lot of people, well, it doesn't matter because you can still benefit. But you get
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're
because
kind of like the bridge for
I have been
people. It's
around
kind of like,
people that
yeah,
think like this or that understand these concepts, and I feel like I would have, really benefited from it too. Somebody who understands the concepts can help you see it and apply it better into your own experience, or like you
hmm
said, just mirroring it, just talking it through, you
yeah,
know.
because that's what was done for me. Someone mirrored it to me. I had a mentor who mirrored it to me, and that really helped me. They were like the bridge because they were where I was at, and they were kind of like the bridge for me. And it's
Hmm.
nice to have like someone to be the bridge for you for your next thing. And so there's, we are where a lot of people are, have been, and we could be
Hmm.
the bridge for them, just like somebody was a bridge for us. It's kind of like passing the
Yes.
candle. And so I just
Uh-huh.
love that, how that works, how life does that. Like we have these experiences and people resonate, and then we were where they are, so we can understand them. We can be the bridge. We know what it's like to get to the next place in the game. I don't know, however you want to say it. The next phase of
Exactly.
the game or whatever it
There's
is.
always more expansion with
Yeah, and I'm
every
always looking
phase
for
that you
people
go
that
through.
are, yeah, people that have other experiences that I don't have. Like I'm looking to them, and push
Yeah.
into that as well.
So you went ahead and you was it a mentor or was it a mirroring call that you
Yeah,
did?
so it was like mentorships, like with different spiritual teachers,
Mhm.
and even Abraham. I think Abraham was as a mentor too. Like I
Oh
thought that
yes,
was,
big time, big
that was another one that I invested in. So I thought that was a really good one. It really helps with the character side of things, like with the everyday life with the character and kind of taking this and implementing it into the everyday life and getting more with the conscious creation rather than just knowing what you truly are as effortless being. You are whole and complete. But we're here to have fun, so let's have
yeah.
some fun with it. And that's really what I like about using Abraham as a mentor would be is because they help you have fun with the human experience and take coming from that inner being of knowing, and then it makes it more juicy, more fun, more alive.
Well, I will say that listening to Abraham, their infinite intelligence, and they're
Yeah.
streaming through Esther and everything, and I get a lot out of that. But just you and I conversing and being human, both of us being
Yeah.
human, and having these experience and applying these material, this information and working on it. I think having a person that is actually living on Earth, going
It's not
from,
just like in the mind, like
yeah,
a
and I
mental,
love
more than a
infinite
mental
intelligence,
mental
but
understanding. It's like
yeah,
alive in the
yeah,
flesh, someone who's implementing it, living it, embodying it,
yes,
breathing it
yes.
every day in everyday life. Yeah.
And I feel
There's
that
value in that.
people and people resonate with you
Sure.
because you have similar experiences, and it could really help you to have an insight that you wouldn't have had otherwise.
Right.
That
It's
could really,
invaluable.
really help you to view things in a certain way, or help you to get clarity on something that you don't see, or that is in your way, so to speak.
Yeah, clarity. I just love clarity. To me,
Yes,
that's
the
like the number.
clarity.
Once you have that clarity, it's like a game changer. When you have a clear perception of things, clarity to me is like, if I could say if anybody's out there starting a business, I would say go into the clarity business, like be a clarity coach. Like to me, that drives everything else. The clarity.
Exactly. Well, that's basically what we're doing. We just could call it a different thing, but it's
Yeah,
basically
this is
what
basically
you're
what we're
doing.
doing. Clarity. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
showing people how to be clear on what they're doing, and see how they see reality and how they can create the reality that they want.
Another big thing that I realize too is when you live in a world that's so tangible, it's so tactile, and whether people realize it or not, we're all living off a belief system
Yeah,
that
but
we've been
beliefs,
raised with,
yeah, we're
or we were
identified with certain
around, or what
beliefs.
we
Yeah.
decided we wanted to believe,
hmm
all the things that we've been exposed to. We have a belief system that we're living by.
Yep.
And when you get to the point where you realize you get to choose those beliefs to create the life that you really, really want, it
hmm
gets exciting. And to surround yourself around people that are practicing it, it's kind of like a big fire. You add your log to it, it helps you to get into it and immerse yourself in it, and it is even more joyous.
Yeah,
That's the way
it's
I
almost like
see
we're
it.
doing like deep transformational work on an identity
Mhm.
level,
Yes,
It's
yes,
not just like in a mental concepts, self-help counseling thing. It's more it's getting to the root of it. Your idea,
exactly.
what are you identifying with? Because once we're shifting identities and consciousness, that's deep transformation when you're shifting from there. The shifts become profound when you're shifting with the identity. Like if you're dropping the identity of being a striver, a helper, a survivor, or whatever
Whatever
your
label
identity.
you want to give it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you fill in the blank. When that evaporates and you know yourself as the pristine infinite being that's whole and complete, wow, watch how things when you're identifying with that, watch how the reality mirrors, from that
And
place. And
then the
it's
creation
fun.
of who
It's
you
fun.
are
Yeah.
is fun because
Yeah, it
it's
becomes fun. It
identified.
becomes
Yeah,
light,
you're not
easy.
identified that if I'm not this.
Yeah.
That's another experience that my son was in the Marines, and there were so many of them that identified with being a Marine. And
Mhm.
a lot of them committed suicide because
The identity. Yeah.
they identified themselves as a Marine and not enough. So they
Yeah.
couldn't handle it. So that's what they chose to do. When if they had known about who they really are, effortless being, and went in there, it would have been more of a game and
Yep.
a challenge. So I look at that and I just marvel
Mhm.
at wow, something this simple but so profound,
Yeah,
you
what I
know.
noticed too is what the identity is, when we're tied to it, it's like our nervous system too is really tied to our
Oh
identity.
gosh.
So
Oh boy, is it.
if you've been trained that I'm no good, I'm a striver, I have to work hard,
Hmm.
your emotional your nervous system is adapted to that. So it's got to feel safe. It's like that feeling of feeling safe. So if you've trained it all this time, sometimes it can be if you don't work with your nervous system to release that, that's why you get all that resistance coming up, like why people don't make
Exactly.
changes because their nervous system isn't ready for it. So it's almost like you have to let all that go, that identity go, and then there's like a little transition there with your nervous system to get
It
used
is.
to. Some people aren't used to having things come to them easily. Their nervous system freaks out. What do you mean? The only way I know to get money is I have to work hard. What do you mean? You're telling me that it can just come effortlessly. I can just do what I love and get paid for it. Then sometimes the emotional, your nervous system can't because it's thinking safety because it's been so trained. So it's almost like you have to soothe them, be like, it's okay. There is another
Yes.
way. There is an easier way. And you almost have to like feel into your body because your nervous system it's tangible. It's in your body. It's in your
See, that
emotions.
right there is where somebody who's been through it
Mhm.
can really help you to understand that part,
Yeah.
because you could do the mental work, but you're
Yeah.
right. I remember just being on edge 24/7. I used to
Yeah,
grind
that's your
my
nervous
teeth.
system. It's
It was
doing
my,
its
and
job,
the
but
parasympathetic nervous system, which is the relaxing one, was
yeah.
very seldom used.
Yeah.
So it was like when I first started meditating, it was like somebody was scratching the chalkboard. I couldn't do it. So I had to ease into it, and having a mentor or a coach or somebody who's been
Yeah.
through it explain to you, and you take baby steps and you understand why it's happening, it is a much more
Game
fun
changer. It's a
ride.
game changer. Yeah.
Yes,
It's
it
like
is.
you can do it on your own, but
You can.
this is a shortcut. This is like a shortcut to do it
It's
when you're
way more
working with the
fun.
mentor. Yeah, it's more
Way more
fun and
fun.
it's a shortcut.
Yeah, yeah.
The
I
quantum
really,
leap.
really do
Yeah.
the co-creation part of it all. I think I had some experiences early on with this material where I shared it with somebody and they took it to extremes. They didn't understand it. Think I told you I had a friend
Yeah.
who stopped taking her insulin because she was the creator of her own reality and
Oh my
almost
goodness.
died. Yeah,
Yikes.
and I realized that that's another reason why having coaching people, sometimes don't understand,
Hmm.
that these are our concepts, but you want to take baby
Yeah, we're
steps.
talking about shifting identities and consciousness. You definitely
Exactly. And
have
it's not something that you need to rush
nervous
to.
system.
Not
Yeah.
something, yeah, just ease into things and play with it a little bit. And,
Yeah.
I just find that because I was one of those people that was trained, when I was taught how to swim, just dropped into the deep end of the pool, sink or swim. And I did that to myself for so many years. And I realized that's not necessary and it's not very kind.
I remember for myself, like when I first learned my true nature, like, oh, wait, I'm the infinite being having a human experience. Like to me, like that was profound. And like it totally like I was sitting out in my backyard, just like, whoa, like, it was hard for me to even inculcate into the everyday life because it was so profound. So for me, the spiritual teachers and the mentors I had helped me transition back into the everyday
Yes.
because and then it was more fun because now I'm coming from this place. But it's almost like, it's pretty profound what we're talking about. Like to
Well,
do it on
even
your
in
own. If you do it on your own,
Buddhism,
it's like, whoa.
yeah, and yoga, they ask Kundalini. They have spiritual
Yeah.
teachers helping people that go down that road.
Yeah.
So,
I'm
it just
thankful for
depends.
them. I'm thankful for
Yeah,
them. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's a beautiful thing that there's so much out there for
Yeah. And I'm
everybody.
happy, and we're happy to be bridges for people that are,
Uh-huh.
as well.
It's fun for us and it's joyous and it's just
There's a fun in serving. There's a joy in serving people.
yeah, yeah. So is there anything else you would like to add to this
No, I'm glad you brought up
emotional?
emotions, though. I would just tell everybody, just, we all have that internal guidance system or intuition or emotional guidance system that we're talking about. Emotional intelligence. These are all the things that we're pointing to as your emotions. Welcome them all, listen to them, and use them as a guide to consciously create the reality that you want. Pay attention to them and welcome them, and, use them as a guide to direct how you want to live.
I feel like the shortcut is starting with effortless being, but if you
Mhm.
should find yourself not feeling good and your emotions guide you otherwise, then you could either take a nap, ease back
Yeah,
in,
it's always good
use
just
one
take
of
a
the
nap.
processes.
If you really want to break it down simply, if it feels effortless, follow that. If it feels like a
Exactly.
lot of effort, take a nap and
Yeah,
just
that's right.
relax.
And then come back to it when you're feeling
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
better.
Just if you want to just go there, just feel what
Well,
feels
that's a
right,
big
easy.
shortcut right there.
Yeah, try implementing that. Like, experiment with that. I would say,
Yeah,
see how your life changes just by that alone.
exactly. Well, it was fun.
This feels complete. Till next
Yes, it
time.
does. Till
Reach
next
out,
time.
everybody, if you want to, join us on the cruise, whatever. Check out the website and
It'll be a
sign up.
lot of fun.
Effortlessbeing.net. Okay,
Okay,
that
bye-bye,
feels
everyone.
complete.